Now, we're going to get into what a jump. We're going to get into ventricular rhythm. So I am now on page 68 of your workbook. All right, everybody with me? So we're going to go to page 68. We're down in the ventricles now. So we were already, okay? We've been all throughout the atria. We just hit junctional. Okay, remember, how do we figure out junctional rhythms? They're going to have either what? Tell me. Come on, tell me. They're going to have either an absent P wave or an inverted P wave. If it's plain old junctional, what's the rate going to be? It's going to be 40 to 60. If it's accelerated over a plain old junctional, what's the accelerated rate? That's going to be 60 to 100. And then, of course, junctional tachycardia is going to be greater than 100 beats per minute. All right, so now we've covered atria, we've covered the junction. Now we're down in the ventricles. You ready? All right, so this part is pretty quick. There are several rhythms that we could have, but there are a few that kind of stand out that you definitely want to know. One of which is called this idioventricular rhythm, okay? Now, let's break it down. So this is one variant of an idioventricular rhythm, but all idioventricular rhythms don't look exactly like this. There are many combinations, many variants. But let's break it down. So we have some kind of ventricular dysrhythmia. Something's going on down in the ventricles. One way you're going to often see some kind of ventricular problem is, okay, there again, how do we figure this out? We go back to normal. Well, if normal, so we should normally have, let's say, a TP segment, then a P wave, a PR segment. You may or may not have a Q, then an R, then an S, and then a T, and then you may or may not see a U. Well, a normal QRS, let's get my highlighter. A normal QRS should have a very narrow range. What is the normal QRS duration? Remember, we said that a normal QRS should take place in 2 to 3 little boxes worth of time. So that's going to be less than or equal to 0.12 seconds. That's normal. Well, in most ventricular problems, we're going to notice that the QRS is wide. So the QRS should normally be narrow. However, in most ventricular problems, the QRS becomes wide. Now, what's wide? That means it's greater than, it's taken place, or it takes longer than 0.12 seconds, so 0.12 seconds. So it's going to be wider than 3 little boxes, okay? Idioventricular, though, is where we have some kind of ventricular problem, but we don't really know why. Thus the idio part. So it could be due to a lot of different things. There again, it could be just due to it could be an electrolyte problem. It could be some other depolarization issue. It could be associated with a bundle branch block. It could be associated with lots of different things. We don't really know what it is, but we may have to address it because especially if they're symptomatic, they're not having good cardiac output. Oh, by the way, I just thought of something. Let me go back to we were talking about, when we were talking about the atrial rhythms, I said that when do you need to, oh, no, I know what it was. It was PACs. Yeah. When it was PACs, I said that it depends on how often it occurs. Same with PJCs, PVCs. It depends on how often they occur and whether it's causing problems. Okay. If it's just that the patient has a fast heart rate, but they're not symptomatic, we may not do anything at all. We may just watch them, give them supportive care, give them a calm environment. Let's say you're in a transport situation. You can literally try things like adjusting the temperature, for instance, in the patient compartment, perhaps making it a little cooler for them so they're able to relax a little more. You can play music. You can, if you maybe dim the lights or turn off the lights, of course, if the patient's okay with that. Whether you're in a ground ambulance, a critical care ambulance, whether you're in the flight environment, if you're talking a helicopter, a jet, it doesn't matter. But the same thing in the hospital or in the doctor's office. You can try a lot of these other supportive modalities to be able to bring down the heart rate. However, so that's where they're not really symptomatic. Their heart is fast, but they're not really symptomatic. But what happens if they are symptomatic? Now, and when I say they are symptomatic, what are the things that you need to do something about? Well, if they're, for instance, their fast heart rate, their PACs, PJCs, PVCs, or other tachyarrhythmia is causing, for instance, altered mental status, okay? We may have to, instead of going with medications, it may be more appropriate to use synchronized cardioversion. Of course, follow your protocols. Always remember that if whenever you're going to use electrical therapy on a patient who's conscious, which often a lot of these patients may not be fully conscious, they may have altered mental status, but it may actually send them into unconsciousness. But any patient who is conscious, if you have the time, if time permits, go ahead and pre-medicate them, because when you start zapping people with electricity, this is painful, right? Imagine you being electrocuted and you're looking at the person electrocuting you. You don't want to remember this. So in addition to pain management, we may need to use the help of, let's say, a benzo or something that kind of wipes out the memory so they don't remember you lit them up like a whole bunch of times with electricity. So if they have altered mental status, but also if they have things like, let's say, profound hypotension, the mean arterial pressure is starting to bottom out. So remember that once that mean arterial pressure goes below about 65 millimeters of mercury, now we're starting to have in-organ damage. Remember how I told you how to calculate MAP? Let's just show you one more time. Remember I said MAP is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1 plus 2 is 3. All we're going to do is take, for the 1, that's just going to be the systolic blood pressure. So whatever the number is, so if it was 120/80, we take 1 times the systolic, which is just the systolic blood pressure, so the top number, okay? And then we just do 2 times the diastolic number. So the 80 goes here. So we'd have 120 plus 2 times 80, okay? Of course, that equals, so the 120 plus the 160, that gives us 280 divided by 3, and then their mean arterial pressure is 93, for instance, right? Make sure you know how to calculate MAP very quickly. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. We take systolic number plus twice the diastolic, add those two together, divide by just the number 3, okay? This is just review. I'm just tying in multiple things every day so that you keep hearing it over and over and over. And I also want you to say this stuff with me out loud, right? Okay, now let me get back to where I was. We were on ventricular problems, okay? We talked about idioventricular, but just kind of like with some of this other stuff, it depends on what else is going on. So if you have an idioventricular rhythm that's causing, let's see. I'll tell you what, guys. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and take our break just because we're now at the hour. So I'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'll finish the rest of the ventricular rhythms, and then we're going to go into some cool stuff. So today we're going to talk about, for instance, we'll talk about AV blocks, we'll talk about hypertrophy, we'll talk about infarction, and then we're going to look at, I've got several rhythms, we're actually going to go through that together. So let's go ahead and take our break. When we come back, we'll pick up the story from there. I'll see you in just a few minutes.